guys, and welcome back to my channel. So my neighbor downstairs is kind of sort of vacuuming right now and it's super loud, but I want to film right now, so ain't nobody gonna stop me. So I'm extremely excited for today's video. Today we are talking all about Morphe brushes. So most of my brushes are from Morphe, so that's why I'm dedicating a video to it, but I just feel like this will be helpful because there are so many brushes on their website. It's extremely overwhelming. So today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my favorite Morphe brushes. Most of these are under the $15 range. If you are one of those people whose makeup just never seems to look quite right and you're just like, what am I doing wrong? Maybe it's your brushes, because the quality of the tools that you're using has a lot to do with the end result. Please don't think that you have to go out and buy all of these brushes. These are not all necessary. I'm a big brush person. Like I like to have a brush for every single purpose. I will tell you guys what my top favorites are in this bunch, like my favorites within my favorites. And let's start talking about the face brushes. So for foundation brushes, I do have two makeup brushes that are my favorite brushes of all time. I will say though, I do like using a sponge more often than not, but one of my favorite foundation brushes is this M439 brush. This is just a really big, dense kabuki brush basically. This will give you the fullest coverage possible out of your foundation. It's very fast and it covers a very wide area of your face, which can be a downside when you're trying to get into small areas like in between your eyebrows, your nose. This is one of the more expensive brushes in my collection. I think this is like $14, but I definitely think it's worth it. The next foundation brush that I'm in love with is one that I never hear anyone talk about. I remember a long time ago, Jaclyn Hill used to use this for bronzer, and I bought it for that reason, but I don't even think I tried it for bronzer. I started using it for foundation because I realized it's a stippling brush. Like that's all it is. It looks very different because it's black and most stippling brushes are white tipped. So this is the MB5 brush. This is another one of the more expensive ones. This is like $13 or $14 as well. What I really like about this one is that the product doesn't sink into the bristles of this brush. It just sits right on top of it. And if you use this the right way, you will get full coverage out of your foundations, or you'll get the most full coverage you can get out of your foundations. And what I love about this is that when I use it, I always use less product. The product is actually sitting on the tip and it's not like sinking down into the bristles. You're not wasting product. It just makes the foundation sit right on top of the skin very beautifully. But I will say I think a lot of people misuse stippling brushes. A lot of people like press down very hard to where you're kind of bending the bristles. The right way to use it is to just sit it on the skin like this. You're just hitting the skin with the tips of the bristles, and that will give you such an amazing application. Now let's talk about bronzer brushes. My favorite bronzer brush is the M527 brush. This is definitely something that I feel that everyone needs. This is just a tapered, fluffy brush. As you can see, it's kind of more pinched at the ferrule and then it gets a little bit wider, but it's also still pretty narrow. When you hold it vertically, it just gets the cheek area and the temples and everywhere that you bronze very beautifully. You could also use this for setting powder. You could use it for blush. This is a very multi-purpose brush, so for that reason I would suggest this one. And as far as my pick for the foundation brush, I would say the M439 is probably the best bet just because it's kind of foolproof, because I feel like the MB5 takes more technique. But my other favorite bronzer brush is this one right here. This is part of the Deluxe Badger collection. The bristles of the Badger collection blends out product so beautifully, whether it's face products or eye products, and also it's a lot cheaper than all the other brushes on their website. But I actually don't know what this one is called because I got a Deluxe Badger set. This is what the brush looks like. I believe it's actually the B26 Badger Powder Dome. I'm not really sure about that, but that's the closest one it resembles on the website, and it's only like $9. But this is more of like a rounded powder brush. As you can see, it is tapered at the ferrule, but I love this one for bronzer. Again, it's just the perfect size for your cheeks, your contour area, your jawline. It's a very good brush. For blush, I only have one. This is the E51 brush. This was part of the Elite collection, the Elite 1 collection. They now have an Elite 2 collection, I believe. And I don't know if the numbers are the same, but this is just a very big angled blush brush. But where I have bigger cheeks and they're very prominent, this just works perfectly for me. I do like to stipple my brush on instead of like drag it, so I don't feel like this would work very well if you do drag your brush. For under eye setting powder, I do have a couple. One of my favorite under eye setting powder brushes is the E48, and this is just a very small tapered kind of fluffier in the middle type brush, as you can see. But this one's perfect for the under eye area because where it's pointy at the ends, it just gets right in there in the corners. And then another one that I just now started using for under eye setting powder, but I think it's technically like a highlighting brush, but I don't like to use it for that. This is the M501 brush, and I really do like this for under eye setting powder because it's even smaller than the E48, which I just talked about. So here's the comparison. It's very small, and I just found that I was kind of using a lot of like powder when I used this brush, so I started using this one, and I just find that it just kind of evens it out a little bit better to where it doesn't look so cakey. So I would say if you have to pick one, pick this one, because where this one is more dense, it does pack on more product. So yeah, I definitely recommend this for under eye setting powder, but it could also be used for highlighter. You could even use this for contouring. Very universal. So for highlighting, I only have one brush. This is the M310 brush. This is just a natural bristled fan brush basically, and I don't really know what's so special about it. I mean, you could use any fan brush really. This is just the one that I enjoy. So one big problem I have is finding brushes that are good for cream products, because as you guys know, lately I've been using a lot more cream products, but I have found one that is absolutely amazing for cream bronzer, cream blush, cream highlight. But this is the G39 brush. This is just a flatter stippling brush. I've been loving it for cream bronzer. And then another really good brush for cream products is this G3 brush. So here's what it looks like. This is just a very dense stippling brush, kind of, or not really a stippling brush, it just has like white tips on it. This would be really good for contouring where it's so tiny it's not like gonna fluff out or anything. I feel like the gunmetal collection, which is like this silver chrome gunmetal looking packaging, is really good for cream products just from my experience with them. So yeah, I would say pick the G39 brush. So moving on to eye brushes. Eye brushes are my favorite. One of my favorite brushes ever, and this would be one that I would say pick over any of them. This is the B38 brush. This is also part of the Deluxe Badger collection. This is $4. This blends out eyeshadow so amazingly. It's really good for your outer V. This is just the perfect shape. It's not fluffy, it's very narrow, and I love it for getting right there in the socket. It's very precise. It's gonna go exactly where you place it. This is just one of the best brushes in my opinion. And then one that's very similar to that one is the B80 brush. So it's basically just a shorter, more chubby version of the one I just showed you. So I mean, it's literally just a little bit more dense. It's got a little bit more of a point to it, and this is also amazing for working in the crease, like in the socket or in the outer V. Another one that I love from the Badger collection is the B39 brush. This is just a very flat brush. There's pretty much no density to it, and then when you turn it to the side, look how thin it is. Like, you would think this would do nothing, but I absolutely love this one, again, for the same purpose as everything else. For the outer V, this is just very good for precise work. Like if you just want to put it like right there in the socket of the crease, you just want to kind of blend it out very lightly. And then you can turn the brush vertically like this, where it's more narrow, and it just like feathers it out and diffuses the color so amazingly. I would say between all three of those brushes, maybe the B38's probably the most universal. I feel like the B38 brush is good for the crease, for the outer V, for precision, for everything that you need to complete an eye look. Another brush I absolutely love for the crease, this is the B13 brush, and this is another natural hair brush. Very soft, and it's just really fluffy. It's just so good for diffusing color in the crease and the transition. It just blends out product so softly. Again, this is the type of brush that does work for you. It's only $5, and freaking love it. The next brush I've been loving as of recently is another brush from the Gunmetal collection, and the label's already worn off on it, so I think that this is the G13 brush. It's called Blending Fluff. It's $7. It's very small. This is more of a flat brush. This is not something I would use for the crease, for like diffusing a lot of color. But surprisingly enough, I've been liking this one for patting eyeshadow all over the eyelid, like for shimmers, just anything that goes all over the eyelid. It blends it, but it also packs it on, because like you got a little bit of fluff, but where it's flat, it's gonna make it more intense and more pigmented. Again, I think this is a really good brush for powders and creams. Another brush I love for the lower lash line is another one that's part of the Badger collection, but I bought it in a set. So again, I don't have a label for it. If you're wondering, the Badger set that I bought is called the 15-piece Deluxe Badger set. It's $40, and if you don't want to pick individual brushes, if you just feel too overwhelmed, that's a very good place to start. There's not a really good foundation brush in there, but it pretty much has everything else you need in it. And I'm pretty sure that this is called the round smudger brush, but this is the perfect smudger brush for the lower lash line. It never leaves a harsh line or anything. It's just very fast to blend out. Again, these bristles do the work for you. This is amazing. Another brush I love for the lower lash line for getting right there at the lash root and just getting really, really close is the M432 brush. So this is just a flat definer brush. This could also definitely be used for eyeliner, or if you like to use a flatter brush for your eyebrows, but I like to use this to really get in there and wiggle this at the lash root, and it's basically just a good brush for placement. It's not necessarily for blending. So what I like to do is use this for the placement of my eyeshadow along the lower lash line, and then I go in with the little smudger brush and smudge it all out. And yet another brush I like for the lower lash line. The lower lash line is a very tricky part of doing your makeup because you don't really have a lot of space to work with. Oh no, this one the label's off on this one too. I'll have to look it up later and put it down there in the description box. This one is just a kind of C-shaped, flatter, tiny little brush, and this one's also very good for placement, but it's also good for actually smudging it and kind of blending it if you don't like it to be too softened and too diffused and like smoked out. You can just put it right at the lash root, wiggle it, and it basically does like two things in one. So this is a very, very good option. Let's go back to crease brushes for a second. I've been loving the M513 brush. This is just a fluffy crease brush. Is just very good for blending. I love this for putting my transition colors in. I don't really use it for anything more than that because it is a lot fluffier, so it's not as good for precision, but for color, like all in the crease, it's very, very good. So the last brush I have for like the crease or the outer V is the MB13 brush. I've been enjoying this one more recently. This one is a little bit more flat on one side, and I like this one for outer V stuff because where it's so small, it's just really good for precision. Next brush I have is my Holy Grail eyebrow brush. This is a double-ended brush. So this is the E29 brush. This is $4. So you have your angled eyebrow brush on one side and then you have the spoolie on the other. It's just perfect because you don't have to go into two different tools. You can just apply your eyebrow product, blend it out, and this is definitely one of my favorites within my favorites, so I definitely recommend this one for anyone. The last few brushes I have are for eyeliner. I feel like eyeliner is tricky, even though pretty much all eyeliner brushes are like angled or flat. You know, there's not a whole lot to them, but I just have a really hard time with eyeliner. It's not my favorite part of the makeup process at all. So I've been loving the M559 brush. This is a really, really tiny little flat smudger brush, I guess you can say. I've been liking this one for eyeliner on the top lash line. You can do a very thin line with this, or you can build it up to make it a thicker line. I don't like this one necessarily for winged eyeliner, but I like this one for top lash line and also the waterline. And another liner brush I like, this is just a basic one. This is the B73 brush. This is just an angled eyeliner brush. There's nothing really special about it. It's just a really good shape, really good size. But the two brushes, and I'll tell you which one I would pick over the other in just a second, but these are the best for making your winged eyeliner. You guys know I've had a very big problem with wings. I've been working at it for a very long time. The first brush I have is the M250-1 brush. This is so tiny, you can't even see it, but this is really, really good for actually sketching out your wing. If you like to sketch it out first and then go back in with your eyeliner and fill it in, this is extremely good for that. This is just perfect for making such a tiny little wing, or if you find that your wing starts out to be a little bit thicker and you need to kind of make it more faded and pointed, then you can just like flick it up. But if you have to pick anything for your wing, this right here does not have a label. Are you kidding me? I'll look for it later. I'll put it in the description box, but this is the best eyeliner brush. It just makes the perfect flick and it makes it faded. It's so easy to draw a line with this, and again, it's just really good for sketching it out, but I actually like to fill it in with this too. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys found this helpful. Please let me know down there in the comments below, what are your favorite Morphe brushes, because you guys know I'm always on the hunt. So thank you guys so much for watching and hanging out with me today. Thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe, follow me on all my social media. All the links are below, and make sure you click that notification bell so that you get notified of when I upload. A lot of people have told me that they don't actually see me on their news feed anymore, so yeah, make sure you hit that little bell next to the subscribe button, and I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Mwah.